Jared Leto on new 30 Seconds to Mars album, retiring from acting in the state of rock. Jared Leto approaches music like an MMA fighter. "I beat the living, expletive, out of songs," says the singer, whose fifth album with rock trio 30 Seconds to Mars, America, is out Friday. "I want them to be great, and for some reason I equate working on them longer with them being better, which seems to be the case." Leto, 46, brings that level of commitment to everything he does, whether that means losing 30 pounds for his Oscar-winning role as an HIV-positive trans prostitute in Dallas Buyers Club, or going method to play the psychotic Joker in supervillain team-up Suicide Squad. At the moment, his focus is squarely on his band, which is in the midst of a whirlwind European tour before starting a North American jaunt this summer. He recently called USA Today from the road for a wide-ranging chat about the new album, politics and why he could quit acting. Question: You've typically taken 4 to 5 years between the release of each 30 Seconds to Mars album. How do you decide when it's time to put out new music? Leto: Well, there's that old cliché, you never really finish an album, you just abandon it. In this case, we had booked this massive tour around the world and that became the de facto deadline. I worked on the album for about 5 years with my brother, drummer Shannon Leto, and you know, art isn't polite, it just takes the time that it takes. I always promise myself that the next album is going to be different, and I'll put it out in a year or two, but it never seems to happen that way. What were some of the driving emotions that inspired you as you were writing America? Leto: Fear, failure, hope, dreams, love. Writing an album over the course of 5 years, you experience all kinds of different things. Whether it's a song like Walk on Water, which speaks to the times we're living in, a song about change and standing up for what you believe in. Or Dangerous Night, a song about a relationship. 5 years is a good amount of time to think about quite a wide variety of topics, which is what's nice about taking a long time to make an album. In terms of politics and what's happening in our country right now, is there something that angers or scares you most? Leto: Intolerance is at the top of the list. I would also say that the good news about what's happening is that there's an entire generation of young people who are politically active and entering into a discussion about some pretty big questions. Who are we? What kind of country do we want to live in? It's an incredibly tumultuous and important time. You embrace more elements of rap, gospel and dance music on this album, with collaborators such as $8 Rocky and Zed. Is that emblematic of what you've been listening to recently? Leto: Every song has its own demands. Walk on Water, it seemed thematically, wanted a certain scope and sense of emotion, so that's why the gospel ended up in that song. We've been exploring electronic music from our very first album, so this isn't something new for us. But we break some rules as well for ourselves and tread upon new ground, which is exciting. As someone who was raised on bands like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, how do you feel about the current state of rock? Leto: Rock has always been an attitude, and it doesn't have to mean drums, bass and guitar. I think there's probably more rock in a lot of hip-hop than you'll find in most bands. Rock and roll isn't dead, but there's a metamorphosis happening. We're selling more tickets than we've ever sold in our lives, and there seems to be an energy for what we're doing that we're really grateful for. Obviously rock doesn't hold the position that it once did, but that's okay. It doesn't have to. Last year at the VMAs, you paid tribute to late Linkin Park singer, Chester Bennington. What do you remember about touring with him a few years ago? Leto: I remember the band's kindness, generosity and a hell of a tour. Chester was a really kind, gentle person who wore his heart on his sleeve and I really enjoyed my time with him. Your world tour is scheduled through this fall. How long will it be until you return to film? Leto: I'm not sure exactly. I wish I could give a better answer, but I don't know. Could you ever see yourself retiring from either music or acting? Leto: I think at some point I could walk away. It'd be much easier to walk away from film than music. Music is very personal. My brother and I have shared this journey and this dream for almost our entire lives. We're playing the biggest and most ambitious tour of our lives. On stage last night, in front of 15,000 people, I remember looking over at my brother just in awe of the experience. It's an absolute dream. Q, you said last year that you were confused about all the new Joker movies currently being discussed. Would you still be open to returning to the character in a Suicide Squad sequel? Leto, sure, absolutely. I'd definitely be open to that.